Lorax by Dr. Seuss. At the far end of town where the giggle grass grows and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing except old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the giggle grass, some people say if you look deep enough, you can see today where the Lorax once stood, just as long as it could before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax, and why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere from the far end of town where the giggle grass grows? The old one's leer still lives here. Ask him. He knows. You won't see the once leer. Don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkum on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkum, cold under the roof where he makes his own clothes out of muffered loof. And on special dank midnights in August, he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he peeks and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. The once leer. On the end of a rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail in the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather snail. Then he pulls up the pail, makes a most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you paid him away in his snub, his secret strange hole in his grovelous glove. Then he grunts, "I will call you back," whisper my phone, "for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone." Slup, down slups the whisper my phone to your ear, and the old once-leers whispered are not very clear, since they have to come down through a sniggerly hoose, and he sounds as if he had smallish bees of his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time. Way back in the days when the grass was still green, and the pond was still wet, and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the swans rang out in space. One morning I came to this glorious place, and I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright-colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. From the rippleless pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish, humming while splashing around. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloons frisking about in their barbaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. But those truffula trees, all my life I'd been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than skill, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. In no time at all, I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop, and with great skill and with great speed, I looked the soft tuft, and I knitted a need. Instead I'd finished, I heard a guzzip. I looked. I saw something popped out of the stump. Of all the trees I chopped down, it was sort of a man. Describe him. That's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Mister, he said, with a sawdust sneeze, I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues. And I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset at the shouted and puffed. What's that thing you've made out of my truffula tuft? Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree. I am doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is needs a fine something. That's all people need. It's a shirt. It's a sock. It's a glove. It's a hat. But it was other uses. Yes, for far belong that you can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers, for bicycle seats. The Lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth who would buy that full need. But the very next minute I proved he was wrong, for just at that minute, a chap came along, and he thought that the need I think netted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor stupid guy. You never can tell what some people will buy. I repeat, cried the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Shut up, if you please. I rushed across the room, and in no time at all, built a radio phone. I put a quick call. I called all my brothers and uncles and aunts. I said, listen here, Here's a wonderful chance for the whole Once-a-Year family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road to North Niche. Turn left at Wekenhaken. Sharp right and at South Stitch. And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Once-a-Year family was working full tilt. We were all knitting needs, just as busy as bees. To the sound of the chopping of truffula trees,
What? Man, that's a lot of work.
Then, oh baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, with which whacked off your truffula trees at one smacker, with we're making needs 4 times as fast as before. And that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But next week, he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, "I'm the Lorax, who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots who played in the shades in their barbaloot suits and happily lived eating truffle fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffle fruit to go round, and my poor barbaloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food if their tummies." They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. "Good luck, boys," he cried, and he sent them away. The Once-a-Year felt sad as I watched them all go. But business is business, and business must grow regardless of crummies in tummies, you know. meant no harm. I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger. So bigger I got. I biggered my factory. I biggered my roads. I biggered my wagons. I biggered the loads of the needs I shipped out. I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more needs, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then again, he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nonsense Lorax came back with more grapes. I am the Lorax. He coughed and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffled. He snarled. He sniffed. Once Lear, he cried with a querulous croak. Once Lear, you're making such smogulous smoke. My poor swami swans, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in his throat. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here. So I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you've smogged up around trees. Around here, I mean. You're grumbling. The pond where the humming fish hummed, no more can they hum, for their gills are all grummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their feature is dearie. You'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary. And such of some water that isn't so smeary. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax. Now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap, yap, and say, bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I instant to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering, turning more truffle trees into needs with which everyone needs. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside, in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall, the very last truffle tree of them all. No more trees, no more needs, no more work to be done. So, in no time, my uncles and aunts, everyone, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my cars and drove away under the smothered stairs. Now, all what was left 'neath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance, just gave me a very sad, backward glance, as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. And I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hasted himself and took leave on this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. And all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with the one word unless. Whatever that meant I just couldn't guess. That was long, long ago. But each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away through the years while my buildings have fallen apart. I've worried about it with all my heart. But now, says the Lunsleer, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot. Nothing is going to get better. It's not. go. Catch, calls the Once-Lear. He lets something fall. It's a truffle seed. It's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the truffle seeds, and truffle trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffle tree. Treat it with care. Give it clean water and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest. Protect it from axes that hack. Then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. The end.
Good job, Vauzh. Very good.